What an episode of WWE Backlash. And we will get all the reaction here in the Two versus Brother podcast. Pedro, what a pay per view by WWE Backlash that we had in Lyon, France this weekend. And obviously, this is a point that at the end of WrestleMania is usually a slow time because we're getting new people, new storyline, and might take a while to build up. But what are your thoughts of the entire, premium live event of the WWE Backlash?
Of course, Alfredo. This is. I think that they have to go more often out of the country because this live crowd was insane. Like you'll hear us talking about it with the Jey Uso. At least me, the Jey Uso entrance is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Not even in like a WrestleMania because, as you know, everybody comes from all around the world to WrestleMania to witness it, and people don't usually go and have the opportunity to have a live event like this in their hometown. So they made the most of it. Lyon, France, I gotta give it to you guys. You got it. You guys put everything on the map for real.
It sounds like if we were watching a Champions League match with PSG and a lot of those European countries in the soccer match, those are the type of chants. Is constantly when you watch a soccer match going with guys, the whole crowd giving these anthems, these cheers, and that's what happened on this event. Because if you look at it in the on-site, the 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 card wasn't that strong. There
Yeah,
was no Roman Reigns. There was no Rock. There was no Seth Rollins. There was no Drew Rollins. No Drew McIntyre. No CM Punk. But from the onset, it exceeded our expectations, Pedro. Um, First of all, like that first match, that Kevin Owens or Randy Orton versus the Bloodline, and people, the Bloodline ever since WrestleMania have gone to a full on transformation. Now Solo, it looks like he's taking the lead of the Bloodline. What are your thoughts about that match?
well, yeah, Fredo. The so far it looks like Solo Sikoa is the de facto leader of the bloodline now that Roman Reigns hasn't been seen since WrestleMania, according to Paul Heyman. Of course, that he hasn't spoken to the man since WrestleMania. He blurted that out on SmackDown the other night.
Yep.
Now it's something that it's very interesting, Alfredo, that right now Solo Sokoa has taken over everything that has to do with the bloodline, and Paul Heyman is running scared. He doesn't know what to do because all these guys are loose cannons. How is it possible that now with no Roman Reigns, that was pretty much a level-headed leader, and now we have the enforcer running the show, and we have him bringing in new people. We have him bringing Tongaloa, and now we're going to talk about it in the match. Interfered in the match, Tongaloa, which is, like you explained to me, the Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yep, yeah,
These,
they were the tag team, and eventually this was gonna happen. They were a tag team back, before they came to the WWE. And during that matchup, it was an electrifying matchup. Looking at the matchup, it was just constant back and forth, a lot of weapons. You can tell it was very, very destructive. And then suddenly, Kevin Owens had an opportunity through the chair. Basically, he had six chairs lined up,
Mhm.
and so he turned it around, and he ended up landing, Tangalo Tomatonga
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that, and he was ready to pin him, and he was gonna win the match. The game was, the match was over, and
yeah.
then suddenly out of the blue moon, this Tangaloa
Mhm.
interfered in the match, and we got to see this other member of the bloodline. It looks like that this bloodline will continue growing. We do expect soon enough they might be another member of the bloodline, in which the talks have been, but he hasn't shown up yet. That I mean, actually, that was a person that we thought it was going to show up, in which it was
Jacob Fatu.
aha, exactly.
Yeah.
That he was the next, who we thought was going to show up and didn't. So we're expected for him to come. So I mean, great there. I would give it personally the match an A minus for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Fredo. This match was electric. They started fighting from the beginning, and they turned it into a street fight because it wasn't going to work in any other way. They went in and they candlesticks, chairs. They use everything to electrify this crowd. And I'm very happy they used this match in the very beginning because you could see now that the how the crowd was going to be. Because I don't know, if, like Alfredo, we went to WrestleMania before. We've gone to other live events, and we see how the crowd fluctuates. It never in this crowd we never saw like a lull that is just, oh yeah, we're watching it, but we're gonna go to the concessions. No, no, no. People were watching it from the very beginning to the end, and it was people singing. And it was like all kinds of like I don't know how to explain it. The festivity in the air was very very big.
Yeah.
But let's continue. Onto the big another big match that happened. Um, anything you want to add to this one though?
The Jey Uso and the Damian Priest.
Mm,
Yeah, I
I don't know.
mean,
Because when it comes to the Jey Uso and the Damian Priest, like I was referring before, that Jey Uso entrance was electric, and I was talking to you off screen about this, Alfredo. They have to do something big with main event Jey Uso because the guy I was researching, the guy's selling merchandise like crazy. He's ever since he broke off from the bloodline, he has been must see TV. Um, every just his demeanor and the way that he acts, it's very very like authentic, and it comes off very authentic to the people. This is one of the reasons why when he came out through the crowd, a man of the people, and everybody was on their feet. The phone, like, and I thought this was like never gonna stuff like this was never gonna happen before because you remember back in the day, Alfredo, where when something big happened, all the flashes of cameras were going on in the stadiums back in the day, and I thought that was never gonna happen again because everything was on smartphones. But
yeah.
those when everybody with the lights on, up and down, yeet here, yeet there, it was electric, Alfredo.
So
But
how would you book? I mean, we already knew what happened with the match. Damian
mhm,
Priest. It was not much of a surprise. Damian Priest ended up
yeah,
eliminating him or finishing through the help of
yeah,
Judgment Day.
he beat
So
him.
so you're mentioning about Jey Uso that potentially the WWE should give him more. So how would you book them in the following months?
Well, this is how I believe this should be booked. Obviously, he is a main event talent. He has shown that. Even in the commentary, they were saying that he's a 10-time tag team champion, but he has never won singles gold.
Mm-hmm.
This is what needs, in my opinion, how I would book him. I would make it so that in SummerSlam he would win a major championship. I would see it how SummerSlam would be him versus Damian Priest again, and this time he wins.
So how would you book them in the next couple? Because we have the King of the Ring coming up, we have
Mhm.
Money in the Bank after that, and you're saying this is going to go all the way to SummerSlam. So how are you going to book them in the interim?
Well, as you saw in the very beginning, in throughout this whole match, there was a back and forth with Damian Priest and the Judgment. Uh, Everything is indicating that Damian Priest is going to turn babyface, and he will lose the championship because of the Judgment Day. In my opinion, that's what it looks like to me. So there has to be a point in time that someone wins that championship. I don't think it's gonna be Jey Uso at that point. It has to be somebody else that most likely is gonna be a heel that wins that championship. I don't know who is going to be. But I do know that most likely what's going to happen is going to be him at the end and SummerSlam winning the championship.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think I know with what you're saying that Jey Uso is a main event, but remember we have to think about this long term. And I mean this eh, because there's so much things that could happen with all this that I think you have to slow cook it to get there.
Okay.
Meaning Damian Priest, I think that he should continue having the title because his title reign. But I do agree, he it somehow something needs to happen that I think in SummerSlam,
Mm-hmm.
Damian Priest will fight Finn Balor. Finn Balor, will the Judgment Day will turn against him, and they're gonna fight each other for the title. And there, it might be the moment that Finn Balor might take the title. Now, for Jey Uso,
Mm-hmm.
and just put it like this: I do see him as a future champion, but there's something bigger that needs to be in the horizon. I think like the next pay per view, next couple one, maybe have him in the, have him another match against Damian Priest,
Mm-hmm.
lose that match, maybe put him in the Money in the Bank pay per view,
Mm-hmm.
and when he's about to win, or have him win the Money in the Bank
Mm-hmm.
contract, but then instead of cashing it in right away, I think there's the Bloodline Civil War that needs to come to fruition. The Usos might team up again, and
Okay.
that's where I think this is going to be headed. Solo, the two Tangatoas, and then with Jacob, they're gonna be running with the WWE. The Usos are gonna fight them, and that's where we might have the first tag team match with the Usos versus maybe the Tangatoa. These two wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
start battling there. Next couple of months after that, have that battle, that back and forth with the Usos. Obviously, with him with the Money in the Bank contract,
Mm-hmm.
and then then Survivor Series November will start coming, and maybe Roman Reigns by the time show up. We are going to have a civil war between these two bloodlines. That's how it's being lined up. Roman Reigns can maybe show up. They
Mm-hmm.
have a survivors or war game type of match,
Yeah.
and then just basically just, and then once that ends, then I think I would focus on Jey Uso becoming a title. But this feud or potential feud that might go through is so hot that I would like to take advantage of it.
No, I get you, Fredo. That's why it's important that you put in that he actually wins the Money in the Bank. My only issue with that is you're putting it as if it's Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I see a bigger main event there with The Rock.
Yeah, but this is Survivor Series. I don't think The Rock's gonna show up. And remember that at the end, I think the end game of all this is that The Rock might end up being, final boss, the
Mm-hmm.
leader. But remember, The Rock is gonna be having business with Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
But the end game of all this is that The Rock was the one all along, that this is his bloodline, that they all, Solo, Jacob, these guys, they all respond to The Rock.
Yeah, that's what I think is more or less what's going to happen. Like right now it's splintered off between Bloodline, I guess, the original Bloodline, and then what we have here is going to be the splintered off cell of the Bloodline that we have now.
Yeah.
So obviously somebody has to be the leader of it, because I'm not saying that Solo Sikoa doesn't seem to be a leader, because he's doing a very good job as we see here, but there has to be a big, like a final boss in on the horizon, and that's probably controlling things in that way, which is what we kind of saw with The Rock and Roman Reigns, which when we saw Paul Heyman take out two cell phones and talk to The Rock and talk to Roman Reigns.
Yep.
So that's where I think this may be heading. But you know what? What you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I think Jey Uso. I mean, and again, he's gonna be, but I think slow cook him, and you'll see how much it will pay off. And then let's move on to the main event. We had Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles. So obviously, the main question was Cody Rhodes finished his story. He beat Roman Reigns in WrestleMania. So obviously, the big question will be, will he be able to continue
Yeah,
writing new story? AJ Styles says that he was going to end, on his new story. How did it
correct.
go with that match? What was your thoughts with that match?
Like just on the optics of the match, I wanted to talk about, because yes, this is a match that's not a big money match, and a lot of people were saying when Vince McMahon was in charge, this match would have never seen the light of day. But in my opinion, Cody Rhodes can work with anybody, and AJ Styles can work with anybody. Those two guys worked a hell of a match that seemed to me it could have you could have put this match in any pay per view and it would have sold, and especially in front of this crowd, because this crowd is a really like wrestling crowd. They really wanted to see wrestling, and that's exactly what the WWE gave.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Cody Rhodes is going through a moment after finally, beating. It's very important for the WWE, to keep him interested because, or his story, because you went through all this trouble, through all this, finished the story, and he finally conquered Roman Reigns. So the point is, how do you continue, going through that? How to keep it interesting, because eventually The Rock will come back. He said it, The Raw, he will be back. So the biggest challenge that the WWE has is how can you keep Cody Rhodes, people still invested in him. And I think this matchup with AJ Styles, it was great. I think it was a great start, back and forth, much respect to each other. And obviously the right decision was to have Cody Rhodes, retain his title. But now, again, here in the Two versus Brother podcast, we always look ahead, big picture. What's your thoughts with Cody Rhodes? What do you see him in the next couple of months until eventually The Rock will come back and back maybe in the field with Roman Reigns, those things. But what do you
Correct.
expect to happen?
Well, look, this is as you know, Alfredo. Generally, when there's a babyface champion, there's generally less. I don't know how to put this. Less exciting, because there has to be a big bad, and right now all the big bads are gone. Cody has vanquished them, and now we're here, and there are no big bads to be around. So at this point in time, yes, we have to see the metamorphosis of Cody Rhodes. He slays a dragon. He shows how good he is, and we have a wrestling champion right now. So this is a guy that's going to be available. He's going to always be there, and he's going to show his face and show people why he won the championship to begin with. Now, unfortunately, there has to be a point in time where the champion has people have shown a chink in his armor. Somebody has to be that person to go and be like, "You, I'm going to beat you. And I'm going to make it so that I'm going to push you to the limit." Because you also have to create new stars. You can't have this because we don't have all these people around. You mentioned it. There is no Seth Rollins. CM Punk is injured until who knows when. We have The Rock gone. We have Roman Reigns gone. There has to be somebody that could take that big bad role until they come back. And we do have a couple guys that are out there that could probably do it. Um, to me, we see the storyline with Damian Priest. He's his own champion. We have that's something that's going on the other brand, and then we have Cody Rhodes. I don't know who's going to be able to step up and do that. Of course, we saw this match, excellent match, but we need to see a big bad show up. And at this moment in time, WWE hasn't cooked up a real big bad.
So who do you think? Be the GM.
All right now, if I'm gonna do this, it has to be that Solo Sokoa situation needs to take effect. It can't. It's not gonna be now, but it's going to be pretty soon. That situation needs to
Yeah,
needs
but
to.
but but next pay per view. Book the next King of the Ring is the next pay per view,
Mhm.
and then you have the Money in the Bank, and you have SummerSlam. How will you book Cody Rhodes those events?
Well, there's going to be two Money in the Bank championships. We know that for a fact. We need to know who is going to. We already said that Jey Uso needs to win one. Jey Uso will win. He's going to face the world heavyweight champion. We need to see who's going to win this other one. This is one where I believe where we're going to see LA Knight win a Money in the Bank championship because that's another guy that's a top star.
Okay, but who will Cody Rhodes face in those pay per view?
Well, in the pay per view, Money in the Bank, I think.
Well, next one's King of the Ring. King of the Ring.
Well,
How would
King of the Ring, I think that he should face maybe. It's hard to say because at the moment there aren't very many big stars unless he's going to face Randy Orton. But Randy Orton is not a big bad. He's not a bad guy. Randy Orton is going to be a face versus face match that at the end of the day, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of history there, but it's not going to be a match that I think is going to be Randy Orton turning into a big bad, which I think is always a better situation because Randy Orton is always a better bad guy. If he does turn into a bad guy, that'd be awesome. But we need to see how that metamorphosis would happen.
Well, what I would do on the next premium live event, I'm gonna do the rematch with AJ Styles. That was a heck of a matchup. But each time, but this a little bit more personal. Have AJ Styles become more of that bad guy. I mean, they didn't have enough time to form their title match.
Exactly.
It was very few time the draft. So I think that the next pay per view AJ Styles will continue. Maybe in the King of the Ring, that one's gonna be tough because, like you mentioned, and you are right. There's not that many heels. There's not many challengers that could face Cody Rhodes. You know what might happen, but I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball, something that nobody has ever mentioned. Obviously, it will be a big jump, but there potentially might be a new group, and there's been already rumors about it, about a new group that will be coming to the WWE, formerly known as the Wyatt family, coming
Mm.
back again. Yes, Bray Wyatt has passed away, unfortunately, but there are rumors that there's going to be new members of the Wyatt family. And what better way? And I'll read this here. This WWE faction. It consists of Bo Dallas,
Mhm.
Dexter Loomis, Joe Gassi, and Eric Roman, who used to be with the
Yes.
original Wyatt family. Um, what better way to make a statement than start against Cody Rhodes? Because right now there's no direction much for Cody Rhodes. Maybe this Wyatt family can attack, can start off in a feud with Cody Rhodes.
I can see. I don't know. It's the problem with that is that there are already established factions in the WWE right now. This is one of the best things that's happened to the WWE since Triple H took over, which are the factions that are back, and that's awesome. But you can't have a faction that's not been around for a while come and just say, "Oh, we're gonna take everything over from the very beginning," unless they truly are going to be a mega super heel faction. But then we already have super heel factions. So the Judgment Day is a super heel faction. We have
The
different.
Bloodline.
We have the Bloodline. That's a super heel faction. We need to see what we. This is the thing. Right now, it's very fertile ground for something to happen, and I have my trust in Triple H to do it. But if I were the GM, I would turn Randy Orton heel and have him face Cody Rhodes at King of the Ring.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, guys, tell us what you think. Who you think Cody Rhodes should face off after he finished with AJ Styles? Good question. Can it be the returning of the Wyatt family, or maybe turn Randy Orton heel and face in a big match for potentially Money in the Bank or SummerSlam?